What was great advice 20 years ago, but definitely isn't now? In high school, as part of one of my classes, they brought in a lady who worked HR for some recruiting firm for a few days to teach us how to do resumes and cover letters and such, and she told us even if a place has an option to apply online, always go in person and pick up an application. No one takes online applications seriously. I was actually told this by a seasoned, experienced older employee around 2011 or so while working a temporary position and seeking to apply for a permanent one, which by the way included the possibility of a pension. I carefully filled out a thick application stack by hand and delivered it personally to HR. Turns out that due to some recently added rule, I was not eligible unless I went through the online application process, and no one told me until it was too late. It was probably better for my mental health in the long run to leave that job rather than feeling like I had to stay for the benefits, but the whole experience really soured me on trusting anyone's advice on anything ever. Always verify from the relevant source. For my current job, I tracked down the GM's email address and sent him my resume and a little introductory letter. He called me up a week later and hired me soon after. That's the closest I've ever come to walking in and shaking hands in person. Usually I use Indeed. Generic dating advice. People always wonder how some people get to be so creepy, but they forgot that they've been brought up by a generation who thought the best way to get a woman was aggressive flirting techniques, actual stalking, and being overly possessive. The lack of understanding times have changed is crazy. The first dating recommendation I get from a man over 50 is to just approach a woman in the gym. It's easy, yeah, not taking that advice. If she won't go out with me, I'll just do what they do in every rom-com and ask her every day until she says yes. I'll meet her at her work and I'll go to her house with gifts. I know the hard to get game and I know it'll just take convincing and persistence and she'll love me. Stay at the same company for long periods. They show no loyalty or keep up in pay rises. If you want pay increase and promotion, best to swap company every 1 to 3 years. I was recently offered a huge promotion. HR'd me around on the salary and refused to negotiate. I told them if I was coming in from the outside, they wouldn't hesitate to give me what I asked, and then I rejected the offer. Everyone was flabbergasted. My boss called the C-suite level member of our department to tell him what happened. The next morning I had a new offer for exactly what I asked. That's such a good example why a promotion has to be considered carefully before accepting. A lot of people hear the word promotion and think it's automatically a good thing. But you have to weigh the extra responsibilities against what they're giving you in return. You played that situation very well. I guess it was a risk, because they might not have come back with that better offer, but standing your ground worked well for you here. Additionally, make sure you're taking whatever that promotion is at face value. Anything they tell you about what the position will be is bullshit until it actually becomes that. I made this mistake 4 months ago and am desperately trying to find a new job. I kept being told we were moving away from the methodology we were using, so X, Y, and Z about the position would be changing by the end of the year. This has turned out to be bullshit and we are instead doubling down on it, so everything I knew I wasn't going to like about the position but was expecting to go away would now be permanent. Buy that house. Sure, it seems weird that you qualified for such a high home loan, but I'm sure they wouldn't offer it to you if you couldn't afford it. After getting this advice recently, the alarm bells went off for the rhetoric surrounding 2007. If I need to be $1 million in debt to own a home, I'm gonna figure out how to move to the middle of nowhere. It's not fucking worth it. My family understands the high cost of housing, so they don't throw that on me, but my girlfriend's family doesn't understand it. They all got to America in the 70s to early 90s when housing was still affordable for the average person. My girlfriend and I are planning on buying a house in the next 2 years or so in a cheaper state. South Florida is one of the highest costs of living right now in the country, and we don't make enough to own a home here. Her family keeps saying, oh, just do a joint application for a house. Look, this one is only $420,000. Ours is worth that much and we did it just fine. Yeah. The difference is that your home was only $70,000 when you bought it 30 years ago, and you also own your own highly successful business, so you have even less to worry about. Plus, that $420,000 house is a literal condemned crack house, since those are the only sub $600,000 houses you can get down here. It's not as easy as it was when you first came to the US. Our combined income is $82,000 a year. Nobody is giving us a loan that high, and you'd be delusional to think otherwise. Follow or subscribe and comment your own answers.